What's up, guys? Neil Orfield here, and I'm going to show you how I will be setting up my fantasy cruncher for the AFC Championship game between the Bengals and the Chiefs. I'm going to be setting up here for the largest field GPP on DraftKings. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Okay, first thing I like to do is make sure I've got my column set up. Looks like I already do here. I've got my projection, ownership projection. Of course, we don't have ownership projections just yet for this slate. Exposure cap, and then how much I get of players once I have run a crunch in the middle of my screen where I want them to be so I can see them. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go into the captain tab here. I'm going to set an exposure cap of 20%. Not a magic number, just a number that I tend to use most of the time. I'm not going to get more than 20% of any one player in the captain spot. You can change individual players by clicking on their numbers here, or you can obviously use a different cap universally as well. All right, now that I've done that, I'm going to go back to the all tab here, and I'm going to sort by projection. And I'm just going to remove every player who has a projection of 0 from my player pool. This way, when I'm making groups, these players won't be there. It's going to be easier to find the players that I am going to include in groups. All right, next I'm going to go into advanced options. I'm going to be working in 2 tabs here, the general tab and the groups tab. Starting here in the general tab, unique players per lineup, I'm going to leave at 1 unique player per lineup. If I were making 40 or fewer lineups, I might consider changing this to 2 unique players per lineup for the sake of diversifying my lineup set. Salary cap, you can see I've already put a salary in here. I already made a video for the earlier slate, and a lot of the settings are still in there. So I set the salary here of $49,000 just for the sake of avoiding the most duplicated lineups. Typically, casual players are going to want to try to use their entire salary cap. Those are generally going to be the best projected lineups. But you can win without using the full salary cap, and you're more likely, if you don't use the full salary cap, to win a lot of money when you are lucky enough to win. So I like to leave some salary on the table. Offensive players versus defense. The default was set to 2. I changed it to 5 players, so I can have 5 players from one team against just the defense from the opposing team. Not going to come up in a lot of my lineups, but I like to allow for it if a lineup projects well enough to get in there. Exposure cap, the default is 100%. I leave that at 100%. I did already change the exposure cap in the captain spot specifically, but universally, I don't mind having 100% exposure cap. And then randomness, I'm going to set it to 30%. If you want more control over your lineups, use a lower number here. You can even use no randomness at all if that is your preference. But I'm using randomness at 30%. And then minimum projection included in calculation. The default was set to 3. I changed it to 2 earlier for the video I made for the NFC Championship game. I'm going to leave it at 2. Still, if there is a player who projects for fewer than 2 fantasy points, I am going to give them a boost to their projection to make sure that I have them in my player pool. And then players from each team max, default set to 5. I'm going to leave it at 5 so I can have 5 players from one team against 1 from the opposing team. That'll do it for the general tab. You know what I did immediately the first time I won 6 figures in a DFS contest? I converted my trial membership to Stokastic, which was Awesemo at the time, to a full annual subscription. That's because I knew these were the best tools in the industry. That was 2019, and they've gotten even better since then. Well, good news. You can get access to these same tools without winning 6 figures first with a great offer from BetMGM. You can get 2 months of Stokastic Plus Platinum when you sign up, deposit, and bet at least $10. That's every tool on the site for every sport other than Fantasy Cruncher, a $240 value. All you need to do is click the link in the description of this video, follow the steps, and deposit $10 or more and place a bet of $10 or more on whatever you want. And when that bet settles, MGM will hit you up with how to get your subscription to Stokastic. You don't even need to win the bet. On top of all of that, you also get bet insurance on your first bet up to $1,000. That means if you win the bet, you get your money. If you lose the bet, you still get your money back in site credits. It's a great deal from BetMGM and a long trial subscription to the best DFS tools out there. The legal age for gambling in most states is 21 plus, and if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Reminder, make sure you use the link or use promo code PLATINUMSUB or we won't be able to track you. All right, you can see here, these are the groups that I set for the NFC Championship game already. You can pretend these are not here if you did not already play that slate. Now I'm going to add some groups here for the AFC Championship game, starting with a Burrow captain group. So for this group, I'm going to find Joe Burrow in the captain spot, make him my key player. Then I'm going to sort by position and add every Bengals pass catcher to the secondary group. So Tyler Boyd, Irwin, Higgins, Chase, Wilcox Hurst. I am going to include the running backs. You could consider leaving Joe Mixon out here. He's not all that involved, but he does, get a handful of targets per game. A few, I should say, targets per game. Samaje Perine, pretty involved in the passing game. All right, that'll do it for this group. Joe Burrow, I would say, is a middle-of-the-road runner for a quarterback. I think he rushed for like 5 touchdowns this year. Also rushed for, I want to say, somewhere in the 15 to 20 yards per game range. So clearly has some rushing upside. And, sometimes in the playoffs, quarterbacks are willing to run a little bit more. So I do think that Joe Burrow has some rushing upside. I still think I am going to require at least one pass catcher here. He's still not, Jalen Hurts. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not somebody who is running a ton. He's still doing most of his damage through the air. So I am going to require at least one pass catcher from this group in my Joe Burrow captain lineups. However, and then I am going to make it more likely that I get to multiple by giving little boost to these pass catchers as well. These are just 12% boosts that I'm giving here. Not a magic number. Just a number that I've found to work pretty well to get to approximately how much I want of different pass catchers. And then running backs, I typically do give a slightly smaller boost. Maybe Perine, I could consider a 6% boost to Mixon's 4%. He's a little bit more involved in the passing game. Again, nothing magical about this. It's all trial and error. If I don't like the way my lineups are coming out, I might come back here and adjust these numbers, but this is a good starting place, I think. All right, next I'm going to make a Mahomes captain group. So again, find Patrick Mahomes in the captain spot, make him my key player. And now I'm going to add all of these Chiefs pass catchers to the secondary group. And again, same thing. I'm going to include Isaiah Pacheco, not extremely involved in the passing. Well, I guess I'll include Ronald Jones. I don't know if I'm going to even get Ronald Jones into my player pool, but that'll do it for the Chiefs. Okay, and same thing as I did with Burrow. Mahomes also has shown some rushing upside. Rushed for like 4 touchdowns this year. Rushed for I think he might have rushed for 20 yards per game or so. So in the same kind of ballpark, they both have a handful of touchdowns and 15 to 20 yards per game on the ground. So some rushing upside there. I don't know to what extent his high ankle sprain is going to be an issue for Mahomes. He might rush even less in this game. So if you think that it's going to be an issue that he's not going to be running at all, you could maybe consider changing this to use at least 2 players from this group. I'm going to leave it at 1 for now. And same thing, I'm going to give a little boost to these pass catchers. I don't think I see anybody who stands out as projecting too well points per dollar, so I don't want to give them a boost. I think this will work. And then same. Okay, I got these out of order. Okay, interesting. Anyway, I think, so McKinnon, maybe I'll just give him a little 6% boost. Pacheco, maybe 4. Jones, 4. I'll leave it at that. That looks good enough to me. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I see we don't have Jody Fortson. We don't have a projection for him. He was activated, but he's still maybe is the tight end 4, so we're not really projecting him anyway. Okay, that looks good enough. So this will be my Mahomes captain group. Now I'm going to do the same, make some more groups for Burrow flex. So I'm going to find Joe Burrow in the flex, make him my key player. And once again, add all of these Bengals pass catchers to a secondary group. I think I'm actually going to leave Mixon out of this one. It's again very borderline, but not giving any boost in this one. So I'm just going to leave Mixon out. I'd rather Burrow be paired with somebody he more regularly throws the ball to. It's debatable whether you want to include Mixon there, though. I think on FanDuel I would, but on DraftKings I'm going to leave them off. The reason being on FanDuel, it's a little bit more live to run a quarterback out there without any pass catchers. So, a little bit looser with the rules. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. And that's all I'm going to do for the group. I'm just saying, if I've got Joe Burrow in the flex spot, I want one of these pass catchers somewhere in the lineup. I'm not giving any boosts or anything like that. If it's just one pass catcher who makes it in, I'm totally fine with that. So that'll be my Joe Burrow flex group. Mahomes flex group as well. It'll be the same thing, finding Mahomes in the flex, make him my key player. And then again, add all of these Chiefs pass catchers to the secondary group. And again, because I've got Mahomes in the flex now. See, Pacheco, yeah, I think similar. I'm going to leave off Pacheco and Ronald Jones. Now I've got Mahomes in the flex, so I can add all of these Chiefs pass catchers in the captain spot as well. All right, so that'll do it for this group. Not giving any boosts or anything, just saying if I've got Mahomes in the flex, I want at least one Chiefs pass catcher somewhere in the lineup. So that'll do it for my groups. And then the final step for me is I'm going to crunch out 150 lineups using my projections. So I've got my correlations and rules all set. Now it's just a matter of looking at my lineup, seeing do the lineups look the way I want them to, and am I getting exposures to players around how much I want of them. So first, looking at the lineups, first lineup I see here, Joe Burrow in the captain spot with 3 pass catchers. Looks good, a lot of positive correlation there. Now I've got Chase in the captain spot with Burrow, Mahomes with Juju and Noah Gray. That looks good to me. Juju in the captain spot with Mahomes, Chiefs defense, and Harrison Butker. That's interesting. And then we've got Burrow and Chase. Everything correlating well here. Mahomes with 3 pass catchers. Burrow with Boyd. Looks good. So now we've got Tyler Boyd in the captain spot with both Chase and Higgins along with Burrow. It's a little bit thin, but I'm okay with it. The reason it's thin is obviously there's negative correlation between Boyd, Chase, and Higgins. And also, if all 3 of these wide receivers are doing well enough to make it into the optimal lineup, there's a good chance that Joe Burrow would be the optimal captain. But it is PPR. It's certainly possible for, these guys to make it in with the 100-yard bonus, getting there. Maybe Higgins has 8 catches for 90 yards, and that's enough to get him in there. Doesn't actually score that many points for Burrow. So there are ways for this to work out. I think I'm okay with it, even if it's not my favorite lineup. And here it's actually a very similar one. We've got MVS in the captain spot with both Kelsey and Juju Smith-Schuster, along with Mahomes, and then Burrow and Boyd. Again, I'm okay with it. I don't want to see a ton of it. You could, if you wanted to, go back and make a group that says if you've got a Bengals pass catcher in the captain spot, at most one other Bengals pass catcher in the lineup, or give negative boosts to other Bengals pass catchers in those lineups to make it more or less likely to get to these kinds of lineups. I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to get a ton of them anyway, and I'm okay with getting it in some. Here we've got Burrow with all 3 of his top receivers. Juju on the other side, Chiefs defense. So here's again, we've got, we're expecting an onslaught for the Bengals, but still have the Chiefs in there. If they have a pick 6, score a defensive touchdown, there's a high likelihood, especially if the Chiefs offense doesn't do much, this kind of lineup can work out where the Bengals go off and the Chiefs defense still scores a good amount of fantasy points. A lot of people aren't going to make this kind of lineup. I do think that it's live, so I'm okay with it. Mahomes with multiple pass catchers from the Chiefs, Burrow with Chase, looks good. Yeah, in general, I think I'm okay with these lineups. Nothing too ugly going on here. So I'm going to accept these lineups as looking good enough, and then I'm also going to look at my exposures. You know what I did immediately the first time I won 6 figures in a DFS contest? I converted my trial membership to Stokastic, which was awesome at the time, to a full annual subscription. That's because I knew these were the best tools in the industry. That was 2019, and they've gotten even better since then. Well, good news. You can get access to these same tools without winning six figures first with a great offer from BetMGM. You can get 2 months of Stokastic Plus Platinum when you sign up, deposit, and bet at least $10. That's every tool on the site for every sport other than Fantasy Cruncher, a $240 value. All you need to do is click the link in the description of this video, follow the steps, and deposit $10 or more, and place a bet of $10 or more on whatever you want. And when that bet settles, MGM will hit you up with how to get your subscription to Stokastic. You don't even need to win the bet. On top of all of that, you also get bet insurance on your first bet up to $1,000. That means if you win the bet, you win the bet, you get your money. If you lose the bet, you still get your money back in site credits. It's a great deal from BetMGM and a long trial subscription to the best DFS tools out there. The legal age for gambling in most states is 21 plus, and if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Reminder, make sure you use the link or use promo code PLATINUMSUB or we won't be able to track you. Of course, it would help to have ownership numbers. That does have a big impact on how much I want of various players. I guess I'm going to speculate a little bit of how high-owned players are going to be. I think these quarterbacks obviously are going to be high-owned. I'm getting a good amount. Happy with that. Running backs, yeah, I'm going to want some Joe Mixon. I'm currently getting 0 Mixon. He's a little bit expensive, but I'm clearly going to want some. He's got a great matchup. I'm going to give him a pretty big boost right away. We'll see how that goes. McKinnon, 20% seems about right. Pacheco, I'll want more than 1%. Give him a boost right away. Salary here. P. Ryan, pretty involved with this Bengals offense recently. I think I'm going to want more than 3% P. Ryan. I'm going to give him a pretty decent boost right away. I think I'd be okay with no Ronald Jones. We'll see. I might end up adding Ronald Jones to my player pool. Maybe I'll do that right now since we've got it at 2. I give him a projection of 2.2. We'll see if that gets him in there at all. Yeah, 59% Jamar Chase. He has been a target monster. He's obviously a guy who can put up a big score on one play. So I like having some Jamar Chase. 59% might be a bit much when you also include that I'm getting 15% in the captain spot. That's a lot of Jamar Chase, but that's still, a reasonable number of lineups without him. So maybe that's fine. T. Higgins, though, I do like quite a bit. I'm only getting 19%. I'm going to give him a little boost right away. Already getting to a good amount of Juju. Going to leave that. I like Tyler Boyd. Kadarius Toney, yeah, he's only actually running routes on about 30% of plays. The Chiefs do design plays for him, though, so I'm going to want more than 1% of Toney. How much I want is going to depend on what the field does. If the field is playing 10% Toney, I'm going to want 30, 40%. If the field is playing 30, 40% Toney, I'm going to want 15%. So I'm going to have to wait and see what the field is doing there. It's not running that many routes. I think people are maybe overestimating his role in the offense right now, but they do target him some. They do design some plays for him. So I think that he's a player that I want some in my lineups, but if the field is going to really go in there, then I'm going to focus more on guys like Juju and MVS. Trenton Irwin, I'm going to want in my player pool. Give him a projection of 4, just given his price tag. I'll take more than that to get him in the lineup here. 4.6. We'll see what that gets me to. I actually like Justin Watson. He's a guy who has some big play potential. He does run routes on like 50% of plays for the Chiefs. So if the field isn't going to be there, which I'm anticipating the field's not going to be there a ton, I am going to want some Justin Watson in my lineups. Sky Moore, he hasn't really done it at all this year. He clearly has the big play potential as well. I'm already getting to 10% Sky Moore, so that might be. I'm not going to give him a huge boost here. I do still want him in my lineups. I'm afraid if I don't give him any kind of boost because of the projection boost I've given to other players, I'm not going to get any. So I'm just giving him a tiny boost to see if I can still get some. I will want some Sky Moore in my lineups, assuming that he is very low owned. And then, tight end Travis Kelce projects really well. He's going to make it into a lot of my lineups. I'm going to leave his projection where it is. Hayden Hurst, I think I'm going to want more than 7%, so we'll give him a little boost. Already getting to a ton of Noah Gray. I don't think I want 45% Noah Gray. Sure, he's involved in the offense for the Chiefs, but they just called up Jody Fortson. They've already got Blake Bell. I don't know if Noah Gray's involvement is going to go down at all. He's actually similar to me to Justin Watson in his involvement, but he's different in that I think the field's going to get there a little bit more, and you don't get any kind of bonus on a showdown slate for being a tight end. So I'm not going to want that much Noah Gray, but I'll leave him there for now because all projections are relative. I'm giving boosts elsewhere. I've essentially already reduced Gray's projection a little bit. And then Blake Bell, I'll get him into the player pool. Kickers, yeah, 24%, 17%. Honestly, that feels about right to me. I'm going to give them just tiny boosts just to try and keep them around where they are right now. We'll see if that's enough. And then DST, yeah, 19% Chiefs seems fine to me. 6% Bengals, I'll probably want more than that. I'm going to give them a little boost. All right, and then I'll crunch it again. Yeah, honestly, if I end up with around 10% of each defense, I think that seems fine. Obviously, this is probably going to be an offensive fireworks kind of game. Probably don't need a ton of the defenses, but also the field's not probably going to go there a lot. And even in these high output games for the offenses, the defenses can put up fantasy points. So around 10% feels about right for me. These numbers, maybe a little bit low on McPherson. If I'm in the teens on the kickers, that's probably fine. I'm going to have to wait and see what our tools say for this game. These kickers might look really great. I might want to bring this up to 20, 25% on the kickers, but that seems fine for now. Hurst, that seems like a more reasonable number. Wilcox, Bell in the player pool looks good. I brought down my Gray quite a bit, so that's good. 13% seems more reasonable for Noah Gray. Sky Moore, I've got like one share of Sky Moore. I'll probably want a few shares there. I do think he is a guy who has big play upside. Justin Watson, as I said, I do like him quite a bit. Only 3%. I think I'm going to want more than that. I think that's the field might even be more than that. I think I want to have more than the field, assuming the field is 5% or lower. Trenton Irwin, I'm going to give him the same projection as Justin Watson. I like Justin Watson, I think, better than Trenton Irwin. I think the field is going to play more Trenton Irwin. I will have to wait and see what the ownership projections say, but making that assumption, if I give them the same projection, my expectation would be that I get more of Justin Watson than Trent Irwin because he's less expensive. So I'm going to give them each a 5.2 projection, see how that works out. Yeah, again, 8%. I think I want more than that of Kadarius Toney. I'm going to give him a little boost. I do like Tyler Boyd, bring him up just a little bit. And then the top end plays, they all look pretty good. All right, so I'm now getting to, 14% Ronald Jones. I don't want that. I'm going to bring him down a little bit. Samaje Perine. I think I'm going to want more than 12%. How much more? Again, depends on what the field is. If the field is playing 3% Samaje Perine, give me 25%. If the field is playing 22% Samaje Perine, give me 15%. I don't know exactly how much I'm going to want there. Isaiah Pacheco, again, I think I'm going to want more than 9%. Might end up wanting more Pacheco than McKinnon. It's tough because it's PPR, but I think more of the field is going to play McKinnon. I'm going to give these guys the same projection. Actually, I'm giving more of a boost to McKinnon in Mahomes' captain lineup, so maybe I end up with about the same despite the price difference. And then, Mixon, I definitely want more. I'm again going to give him a pretty hefty boost there. And I'll run it one more time. And this will be my final crunch. I'll talk it through one more time, but I'm not going to go through 30 crunches here. I'm just kind of trying to show you my general process and how I think about it as I go. So now I see I'm getting just very little Mahomes. Maybe this is a spot where, I'm going to give him a little boost. He's more expensive than Burrow, projects worse, but I still want more than 26% Mahomes. So I'm going to give him a boost right away. All right, 26% Mixon looks a little bit better. I think I'd be fine with that. Yeah, I am getting more Pacheco than McKinnon now. Depends on what the field does. It's going to determine how much I want. 15% Perine looks about right. 7% Jones feels a little bit high, but not too crazy. These guys all look good. 35% Boyd looks good. 14% Kadarius Toney feels about right. MVS, getting more MVS than Toney. I think that's going to be my goal, again, depending on ownership. Getting to a lot of Justin Watson. Maybe I'd want to even these out just a little bit. Maybe I want, 12% Watson, 6% Irwin, 6% more, something like that. I don't know exactly how much I'm going to want, but might try to even those out a little bit. Tight ends, yeah, getting a good amount of Kelsey like that. I probably give a boost to Hayden Hurst here, try to get a little bit more. Maybe 11% feels about right for Noah Gray. Wilcox 6%, Bell 5% feels about right. Now I've come down below 10% on Evan McPherson, 15% Buck Kerr. I might give these guys a little boost. And then defenses, yeah, I'm only getting 5% of each. Again, I don't know what I want exactly. Probably somewhere in the range of 8 to 15% on these defenses where I'm going to shoot for. But I'm not going to go through the whole process here. The process just involves doing this over and over until I get to exposure levels that I like. There are different ways to do it. You can obviously set exposure caps and give players big projections and give exposure caps. But I think that this generally has worked pretty well for me just for creating lineups that project pretty well. I like to leave it at 100% exposure. There are, some concerns with using exposure caps leading to lower projected lineups, particularly if you're not running more than the number of lineups you're planning on making, but not going to get into that now. I'm just going to say this is my general process, and I'm just going to keep going through position by position, looking at the players, how much I'm getting, adjusting projections a little bit until I get to exposure levels that I like. Again, I'll be using the Stokastic single game tool to help guide me in deciding how much I want of different players. And then, of course, looking at the lineups themselves, making sure they correlate well enough. And yeah, right away, I can see these look pretty good. Burrow with multiple pass catchers, Burrow in the flex with one, Mahomes with multiple pass catchers. Now, this is 4 pass catchers. That is a full onslaught there. In general, I would say that these lineups are looking good enough for me. So I'm happy with the way the lineups are looking, getting closer to the exposure levels that I like. And I'll just continue this process. Sometimes it'll take me 30 crunches to do so. Sometimes it'll take me 5. It varies. But this is what I do. Hope you can find some success using this or a similar process. Good luck.